this is a movement, let's say, that exists in Germany since the 1980s. Those are people who believe that they still live in the German Empire from 1871. Some of them believe that they live in what the Nazis called the Third Reich. Some even declared their own state. They basically deny the existence of the German Federal Republic. They're all united in their xenophobic stances, their right-wing ideology, and, as I said, their denial of the state. Now, yesterday, this was indeed a major operation, one of the biggest anti-terrorism operations that Germany has seen. 3,000 police officers all over the country, mentioned 11 federal states, even abroad arrests were made in Italy and in Austria. Now, this group, as you mentioned, they wanted to stage a coup. They wanted to overthrow the government. They already had their plans ready who would replace the politicians. I would like to point out two of what seems to be the main figures of this movement. One of them is a former politician and a judge. Her name is Birgit Malsack-Winkelmann. She, as I mentioned, worked as a judge and was a member of or still is a member of the far-right AfD party. She was a member of the parliament. And now, of course, many are asking themselves, how is it possible that somebody who represented the state, who even represented the rule of law, joined such a movement and planned actually to overthrow the system? Another interesting figure is a man who's known as Heinrich VIII, Prince Reuss. And he is indeed from a German aristocratic family. By the way, the family distanced itself from him after yesterday's incident. He's an entrepreneur working in real estate from Frankfurt. He also owns a castle, and he was the one who was supposed to be the new head of state in that new model for the new German state, however it might have looked like. Now, let's talk about what we are hearing from German politicians after yesterday's incident. One politician from the left party actually criticized the raids because parts of the media were informed about them beforehand. The politician was saying that this actually impedes the raids of the police if media is informed. Of course, journalists will do research, will do investigations. Now, I'm not really sure if the point is valid because the Reichsbürger scene is under investigation also by journalists all the time because, as I mentioned before, this is not something new. Many important politicians and also, of course, civil society come out as shocked. Basically, the entire country is shocked from these plans. There are now those who demand better checks for candidates who, for example, want to join the military or also police forces. Those who demand more freedom of operation for police forces. For example, there is the Minister of Interior from the Social Democratic Party, Nancy Faeser. She hailed the work of the police forces and she called this planned coup also terrorism. And she said that, of course, police forces will continue to investigate the scene of the Reichsbürger and also QAnon. Now, on the level of civil society in Germany, this incident is discussed a lot. Also, is this discussed how we should treat this incident? Because all of this, honestly, it sounds a bit ridiculous. You know, staging a coup with about 50 people, many of them elderly, like that Prince Heinrich VIII. They were about to kidnap politicians, or they were planning to kidnap politicians, you know, causing a blackout. All this conducted, you know, by some conspiracy theorists who don't acknowledge the state but somewhat represent them in their functions. But I think we're wrong to treat this as a single incident or to underestimate these people because we have seen what can happen if they join forces. We have people with military backgrounds, people who owned weapons, people who know how to use these weapons, and especially the Reichsbürger. They're active in Germany for many years, spreading their ideology, but they're not necessarily organized. That's what also makes it very hard for police forces to actually target them. They're not locally necessarily organized. Many of them are very much under the surface. But their ideology is very dangerous for a democratic society, of course. So it is a great challenge for police forces to target them. But I think that we'll still hear a lot about that story in the next couple of days and weeks because the investigation now has only begun.